Even if you don't consider yourself a fan of documentaries, you may find yourself scrolling through the genre on Netflix the next time that you're bored. For those that don't often enjoy documentaries, this is a great list of films that you should at least give a try. For those that admittedly love a good solid documentary, these are some of the best available and will certainly make your movie bucket list. Number 5. It seems as though man often has a broken relationship with nature and Mother Earth's many creatures inhabiting the planet. Sadly, all over the world, people are killing and abusing innocent animals that are just running off their own instincts to survive. Among the most commonly mistreated animals are the beautiful beasts of the sea. There are countless sea park locations around the world, and criticism is constantly thrown at the industry. In a few cases, sea parks and wildlife trainers were found abusing sea mammals such as dolphins and especially whales. Trainers were found starving the animals to improve their performances and response times. In other cases, staff were found physically abusing the mammals with tasers, whips, and other things. The reality of what happens at most sea parks is troubling. However, even if you put the abuse and crimes aside, you may find that the best treated mammal in captivity doesn't live as well as their free relatives. This is partly psychological and revolves around the simple concept of always being locked up in a strange new environment. It's also a physical problem because many sea park living spaces lack necessary elements for these mammals to thrive. Directed by Gabriella Cowperthwaite, the 2013 American documentary Blackfish follows the story of Tilikum, an orca held by SeaWorld, and the controversy over captive killer whales. Filmmakers study the common living conditions of killer whales and compare them to the treatment of other animals in captivity. They also conduct research about the nature of whales' killings and how this could have been prevented, which is much more complex than simply letting the creatures free. But that's obviously the most compelling option. According to the film's wiki page, the film premiered at the 2013 Sundance Film Festival on January 19, 2013. It was picked up by Magnolia Pictures and CNN Films for a wider release. It was nominated for the BAFTA Award for Best Documentary. The film received a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is an impressive number for a documentary. The film was eventually added to Netflix and has since gained millions of views from subscribers. Trainers that were interviewed in the film spoke publicly before its release to promote the message that was being shared. However, after the film went public, those same individuals came forward to speak out against the film, referring to it as misleading and explaining that they were allegedly informed that the movie would cover a completely different agenda. SeaWorld released at least one statement in which they said Blackfish is inaccurate and misleading, and regrettably exploits a tragedy. The film paints a distorted picture that withholds key facts about SeaWorld. The film also successfully caused a number of bands and performers to cancel their contracts to participate in an upcoming SeaWorld event just after the film's release. Number 4. This documentary tale comes in the form of a mini-series as opposed to a feature-length film, but you'll find that the extra time dedicated to this story is completely necessary and makes it even more entertaining. Wild Wild Country was produced and released to Netflix in March of 2018 and is now considered one of the most popular docuseries on the platform. The film follows an Indian guru, Osho, who moved to the Oregon desert to establish the roots of a small utopian village. Upon arriving, however, local ranchers were upset with the guru's plans, and conflict quickly heated up between both parties. The series followed the conflict on both sides and accidentally ended up following the occurrence of the first bioterror attack in the United States, and a massive case of illegal wiretapping. The series is truly a deeply intense roller coaster, which documents a pivotal yet easily forgotten era in America. However, this series isn't just an important recording of history and conflict. It's truly an entertaining journey which is produced in an efficient and visually pleasing manner that eloquently combines accurate storytelling with captivating production. The series, directed by brothers McLean and Chapman Way, conducted interviews with members of both sides of this historical conflict, as well as witnesses and professionals in a variety of different fields. Even with its interesting method of storytelling, the producers made sure that the short series wouldn't stray far from the main concept and its importance to America today. The series received an impressive 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, and is critically acclaimed for its hard-hitting truths and coverage for since-forgotten factors that played into the ultimate conflict. The series is still available on Netflix to this day for your viewing pleasure. It's covered in just one season, which holds 6 episodes lasting about an hour each. This is the perfect docuseries to binge-watch in a night sunk into your couch. Not only will you effectively be entertained, but you may learn a few things along the way. Number 3. Ted Bundy is without a doubt currently America's most notorious serial killer. Many filmmakers, writers, and psychologists have devoted their time to learning as much about Bundy as possible in recent years. But just in case you're somehow unfamiliar, he was a serial killer in America who was active in the 1970s. His crimes targeted women and were gruesome in nature, so much so they were only permitted to discuss them in very vague detail. Bundy was best known for his charming personality and apparently attractive appearance. It's often mentioned that the only reason Bundy was so successful with his crimes and keeping them under wraps for so long was because he was a bit of a charmer and a master manipulator. The docuseries was aired on Netflix in January of 2019, a seemingly convenient time for another Bundy-related film starring Zac Efron as the notorious killer. The series, titled Conversations with a Killer: The Ted Bundy Tapes, is quite self-explanatory in its title. The brief wiki description of the series states Bundy was convicted for the deaths of over 30 women in 1978. 30 years after Bundy's 1989 execution, this docuseries brings viewers into the mind of the criminal known as Jack the Ripper of the United States. Oscar-nominated director Joe Berlinger pieces together archival footage and audio recordings of Bundy that were made while he was on death row to provide a unique perspective of hearing the killer analyze his own life and motives. More than 100 hours of interviews were used to create this 4-part series. The single series provided an array of professional opinions and evaluations in addition to what's described here. Bundy's fame is also briefly discussed by exploring the world of people who consider themselves fans of Bundy or claim that they're in love with the convict. The series is available on Netflix, and while it only has 4 episodes, they're lengthy and provide the perfect amount of information which is effectively organized to entertain the viewer while also informing them. The Rotten Tomatoes score for this series was just 54%, but online viewers and Netflix subscribers have rated the film at around 91%. One online review reads, "I was completely hooked with this one. I know some of the information was general, but there was a lot of new details I never knew." Number 2. Gerald Foose is the former owner of Manor House Motel in Aurora, Colorado. Gay Talese covered the story of Gerald Foose in a 2016 article titled The Voyeur Motel. According to Talese, he interacted with Foose for a while being able to uncover the disturbing conditions that Foose ran in his motel. Sure, the place was clean and fresh towels were always provided, but most guests would have been sick to know that Foose had installed countless cameras all across the property, especially in the rooms, to watch his guests without their knowledge. Although Foose later backtracked to say that he set up cameras to conduct professional research concerning the sexual habits of his occupants, it was quite clear that this was done for his own personal pleasure. He'd installed equipment in the ceilings of each room to watch his occupants during what they thought would have been a private stay. The article sparked controversy around the country and even attracted the attention of law enforcement. In 2017, a Netflix documentary was released titled Voyeur that not only covered the case for what it was, but dug even deeper for more information and conducted a variety of interviews with witnesses, victims, and professionals, and Foose himself. The film is just over an hour and a half long and has been viewed millions of times during its run on Netflix. Additionally, the film received a Rotten Tomatoes rating of 82%, which is not a bad grade for a documentary. Of course, the information explored and provided in the film is compelling and enough to keep you watching. However, it should be noted that the film has been praised for its visual construction as well. Beautiful cinematic shots and unique transition concepts are shown in the film to ensure the viewers are truly entertained at all times. Number 1. Sleep paralysis is a medical phenomenon that occurs when a person is falling asleep or just waking up. As their brain shifts from REM sleep, they enter a state of paralysis which allows them to see their surroundings in a state of awareness, while simultaneously being unable to move, speak, and sometimes even breathe. During this period of sleep paralysis, victims often hallucinate and see strange, terrifying creatures. In many cases, these horrific monsters are approaching the person trying to attack them or hold them down. The visions and conditions of sleep paralysis vary from case to case, but all can agree that the disorder is extremely frightening and commonly prevents victims from properly sleeping. Sometimes victims are so scared by what they experience in that state that they refuse to sleep altogether and end up worsening their symptoms in the process. The exact cause of sleep paralysis is unknown, and also varies depending on each person's mental health and sleeping habits. Some medications can help the disorder by shifting their victim's brain from being awake and asleep more seamlessly. While most people see the disorder as a medical issue, others believe sleep paralysis may actually be paranormal. One running theory on the paranormal side is that as your body moves between being awake and aware to being asleep and absent, you're able to cross into a different dimension of reality, between the world of humans and the world of the supernatural dark beings. Of course, there's no way to prove or disprove this theory. This Netflix documentary from 2015 takes the viewer on a journey into the world of sleep paralysis and is titled The Nightmare. The documentary lines up a cast of interviewees that are professional doctors, mental health specialists, paranormal believers, victims, and more. Not only does the film offer significant information about the phenomenon, but it uses more fictional visuals to accurately depict what a sufferer may see when in a paralyzed state. This effectively combines the informative documentary aspect with the more paranormal and unsettling side of the story. The film, which is available to subscribers on Netflix now, received a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes and 98% audience rating. The short documentary is definitely worth your time, whether you're familiar with sleep paralysis or not, simply because it's so entertaining. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos. And if you enjoyed this narration, maybe consider checking out my personal channel at youtube.com/ty_knots.